People affected by social and ethical issues, participants, users, and those in the environment. Now, as previously mentioned, information systems have impact on their environment. Here we're going to look at three classifications of people who are impacted by the information systems, which are participants, users, and those in the environment. The classifications are based on their level of interaction the individual has with the information system. So we're going to kind of keep it in an order from those who have the most influence by the information system to those that have the least influence and interaction with the information system. So firstly, we'll start off with participants, okay? And participants are often referred to as direct users in relation to an information system as they are integral to its functionality of the system. They are considered a part of the information system and they assist with the execution of the information processes. Okay, they're a cog in the system. Without the participant, the system doesn't work. So let's have a look now, basically, how the information system impacts on the participant in relation to social and ethical issues. So here's my participant here, okay, and they're working as a part of this system. Okay, they would be mostly impacted by the information system due to their high interaction with the system. Okay, and ways that they may be impacted include, okay, the changing nature of work. When systems are updated, participants need to be retrained and re-skilled. Sometimes a participant has a skill that is non-computerized, and then when a new element to a system comes in that is computerized, well, that actual skill that participant has is completely useless. Okay, and then they need to retrain in using specific software that allows them to do the new way of completing that task. Okay, that can obviously be very stressful for participant because that's what their job's been all their life. Okay, but on the plus side, okay, they retrain and learn new skills, okay, that keep them modern, and often the computerized way is efficient and why it's great to do and why people are adopting this new way of doing the task. Secondly, is security. Participants need to be up to date with security protocols which govern their access to data, and access is another issue in itself. But essentially, they need to know logins and passwords in order to gain access to a system. And then, because they have access to data, they need to obviously take care of that data. They might not have access to all data because it doesn't pertain to their job, okay? But they need to be up to date with these security protocols when accessing data. Thirdly is the appropriate use of information. So we've already mentioned that they have access to data, but essentially they've got access to quality in data. Okay, and what that means is the data they have access to is to assist them in completing their job as a part of the organization's goal. Okay, the whole purpose of an information system is to produce quality data, okay, which is useful to an organization. So they have access to the specific data they need to have access to in order to complete their specific work and achieve these goals within the organization. Okay, they can't be then sharing this data or using it for their own personal gain. Okay, and that's an issue in itself. And they are responsible for what they do with this data and maintain the privacy of the people that this data is about. And then finally is health and safety. Does prolonged use of the information system, its design, okay, pose a health risk to the participant? These people are using these systems often hours upon hours a day, okay, hundreds of hours over a month, okay. Does sitting at this system, okay, the colors used in the system, the way they type on the keyboard, is it going to cause them harm in the long term, okay? Because they do this every day, okay, 7 hours a day. So the system needs to be safe for them to use over a prolonged amount of time. Okay, so that's just four issues with links to a few other issues that pertain to participants. Okay, they are the most impacted by an information system in relation to social and ethical issues. We'll next move on to users. Okay, remember what a user is essentially. Okay, any individual who accesses the system, they essentially use the system for its intended purpose, which may be to retrieve information, to pay for a service, or to be entertained. Okay, so they're just using it on a more simple basis for its specific use. They're not a part of the system. They access the system for its information. Okay, and we'll just look at two ways here that they can be impacted. First one is as well the changing nature of work. Okay, often when a new system is updated, in the case of a participant, they'll get trained, they'll be shown how to use the system properly. But with an actual user, they've kind of got to wing it on their own in some cases. Now, in self-checkout terminals, they do have a person there at stores to show you your way through it. Okay, but with a lot of online systems, it's kind of the user fending for themselves and they've got to learn the instructions in order to do the system. Okay, so there's very basic training for users when systems are updated. And essentially, will they still be able to use the system once it is updated? Is the system intuitive enough for them to use? Is the user experience going to be positive? Okay, so they have to adopt a changing nature of works. also common with systems these days is the fact that the user enters in their own data. They're part of their collection process. Okay, and that obviously is a job that was once done by a participant, which is now being moved over to users. Okay, so we really are counting on users to be competent in their IT skills in order to use a lot of systems these days. Secondly is privacy and security, which I've put together. The ability of the user to access a system. Okay, so as a user, being able to access a system and obviously update their details and then or put their details in so they can use a specific system. Whenever you sign up to any new app, you've got to enter in your email address, your first name, your last name, okay, as a part of that sign up. Okay, and so in some cases that email address gets shared if it's in the terms and conditions with other websites, and then they start sending you emails. So that's a privacy issue in itself. Okay, but then on a secondary level as well, what's actually happening with this user's data when it gets into the system? Okay, the organization responsible for keeping it safe, and we've mentioned it there before with the participants and security. Okay, but we do need to make sure that the user's data is kept private. They are counting on this system to keep their data private and do what they've said to do with it. And they do this by putting in security measures. Okay, and that obviously governs who has access to the data. And then that brings us over to the participant who needs to use the data in the appropriate use of information. Okay, but users are counting on the systems to look after their information that they put into the system. Okay, and remember, some of this stuff is vital, like things such as banking details, health records. That's stuff that should not be shared around. Okay, and so data and access to the data should be limited. The final area we're going to look at is those in the environment, okay? And essentially, these are individuals who don't interact with the system at all, okay? But they still may be impacted by an information system, especially if information is being stored about them on the system, okay? So you've got lots of organizations that have data about you, and you might not essentially be using it yourself, okay? When I go visit the doctor enters in all my health data into his system, okay? And that's for his own record keeping. So essentially, if his system goes down or it's unreliable, that's going to impact on me, even though I'm not a user of that system. Okay. The doctor's counting on the system maintaining my record so he can keep track of how healthy I am or if there's an ongoing issue I wish to monitor. Another area is the government. Okay. Essentially, they've got records about us all. Okay, if their systems aren't up to date, they lose track of what's going on. Where do we live? Our addressing information. What's our status? What's our financials? Okay, and they track this stuff in case we do need to access welfare through Centrelink, or we might need to update our Medicare records. Okay, so that we're not interacting with these systems directly, but other users are, and that information on that system is about us. So essentially, the big thing here is privacy. Okay, although we aren't interacting with the systems, our data is still on the system. So, how private is the data still being stored on the system? And once again, who has access to the system? Because we're not interacting with it all at this level. Someone else is entering our details and updating our information. And there is a higher chance that they're going to make a mistake because it's not coming directly from a source. Okay, so we need to make sure that once again the data is kept private, safe, and secure. Okay, and the person accessing the information, okay, is doing their job correctly. So I hope this has given you a good outline of the three different categories of individuals who interact with information systems and are influenced by their social and ethical issues. The participant being a part of the system themselves and therefore the most impacted by social and ethical issues in relation to an information system. The users who use the system for its essential purpose, okay, who still are influenced by the information system and impacted by changes in the information system, and those in the environment who don't interact with the system at all, okay, because others are using systems that have data about these individuals and they need to make sure that they're using them correctly.